All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
This is the brother Ra'aya
Brother Kalaya
of GMS New Orleans coming at you with another lesson. But before we get started, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. Shalom.
Shalom.
And hey, with this lesson, you know, we ain't gonna be bringing them up too much because they're persons non grata, but you know they're the flavor of the week, or the monster of the week, so to speak. You know, those reprobates over at Genesis, because recently they've been, you know, spewing more madness about how Luke wasn't an Israelite, or now that, you know, Gentiles, heathens can be saved, you know, just like their you know, their original head, you know, Pegaman. They're just waxing worse and worse out here. And what this just further goes to show is that these offshoot camps out here, you know, Sakari, IUIC, you know, ISUPK, they're just waxing worse and worse as being made more relevant that the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai was not only never dealing with them, but not dealing with them as we speak. And they're just going to continue to wax worse and worse out here till they fade away, you know, until the Lord judges them, which, you know, that's going to come regardless. And, you know, but, you know, the thing is, you still got a lot of Israelites out here who, you know, don't take this thing as anything more than just entertainment out here. And you've got a price to pay for it, because you have the true men of the Lord, the prophets, GMS, as well as the sincere brothers that come in the spirit of GMS, actually going into these scriptures and, you know, breaking them down in truth and clarity. And as you've noticed, our message has not changed from when our apostles and elders came onto YouTube, even before they got onto YouTube, all the way to 2025. The mark of the beast is still the sea-hip. Esau is still the so-called white man who has no place of repentance. You know, the Gentiles it talks about in the scriptures are talking about Israelite foreigners. Right. America's going to get destroyed, etc., etc. Which, if you know where it's at, meddle not with them that are given a change. I think it's in Proverbs.
I'm gonna just search it up right
now. Because as we're going to bring out in this precept, I think is in Proverbs, you know, you're not supposed to deal with those that are given a change, because what? That shows that they've got a wishy-washy, double-minded spirit, especially when it comes to something as significant to the truth, which, you know, your salvation as an Israelite hinges upon. You want to have stern leaders that are confident in what they say and don't change the message, but stay on point.
It's a lot. It was a little different. This Proverbs 24 and 21, and it reads. It says, "You mind if I start up one?"
Con, you got it.
20. It says, "For there shall be no reward."
Start at 19.
Con. Verse 19, "Fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked."
And hey, those guys over at Genesis are clearly evil men, because they're adding and taking away from the doctrine. And what's it saying in the scriptures? Those that take away from this word shall be taken out of the book of life. That's and right. Those that add unto it shall have these plagues and curses added unto them. And so we're not to be, you know, as it says, we're not supposed to fret because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked. Because, you know, the thing with these other camps is what? They got the so-called numbers, the money, you know, the women, you know, the accolades. It's like whenever a situation gets brought up with Israel, you know, it always seems to be them getting the clout, which, you know, all that doesn't mean anything. The only thing that matters is the truth, and receiving, you know, honors and clout from Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, right. Which a true man of the Lord knows that we're not supposed to receive any honor or glory on this side. We're going to receive it in the kingdom when it actually means something. But what? When you're more concerned about, you know, tricks than the truth, you'll do anything to keep those numbers up, monetize those videos, you know, sell your little programs, anything you can to get a reputation on this side. And like we mentioned with their, you know, their original leader, Pegaman, you know, he was going to award shows, known as this guy in Israel. But now look at him. He's hanging out with a bunch of YNs in some dusty park in Chicago talking about putting toe tags on niggas out here. Just completely through.
Con. This verse 20, it says, "For there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out."
And we can see that the Lord is quickly putting out what little flicker of a candle that they did have. The truth is being taken away from them. You know what's gonna, come next? The name is not the name.
That's right.
If you're talking about heathens can be saved, the name is not the name is not too far behind, and then the Lord is eventually gonna, and put that candle out permanently when he brings you back up to the spirit world. And it's as simple as that.
Con. This verse 21, and it reads, it says, "My son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change."
Straight to the point, my son, fear Yahweh. Hence, while we don't add to this word, nor do we take away from it, because we have faith in what Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai has put on the spirit of our leaders to teach us, and we do the same, walking in their stead, because we have plenty of examples of those that were either once of us or on the outside that came against this doctrine, and we see what their end is. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, put out their spirit, and then eventually, put them off from the face of the earth. And as the latter part said, meddle not with them that are given to change. Here we are on the cusp of Jacob's trouble. Nero 47 is already coming down on you tribes, and it's only going to continue to come down on you tribes. Economic collapses, World War III, chariot sightings every other day. But now, heathens can be saved. Luke wasn't an Israelite. The name is not the name. Now is not the time to be changing the doctrine when we see that the doctrine we've been preaching is coming to pass right before our eyes. Current events are catching up with prophecy. So now, as it says in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5, we should stand in great boldness before our enemies, because we are being vindicated by the things we've been preaching. But why is that? Because we are not, hirelings out here. We're actually shepherds of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, leading the flock in the right direction. Which,
You mind if I get verse 22?
You got it.
It says, "For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both."
And hey, the calamity, even though he's still, physically breathing, though he's spiritually, lost breath,
decrepit,
their leader, that shame that was put upon him came suddenly. I still remember the elder brother down here hit me up and said, "Hey man, there's some information about old boy." And then I saw the information, and just like that, within a week, his whole reputation was tarnished. And what did he say a week before that? How long when whoever he was doing an interview with was asked him, "How long are we going to be here?" Between now and 1,000 years. The Lord cut that shit down quickly. And as quickly as things are ramping up out here, the Lord's about to cut down you other false leaders out here quickly as well.
That's right.
Some of you smaller reprobates are going to have a smaller shame, but the Lord's with you bigger fish out here. The Lord is getting ready to make a public, a public example of you.
Got you with that John 10. Start from the top, and it reads, it says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door."
He that entereth not.
He that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber.
Straight to the point. Those that enter in another way, not following the true doctrine, not going in through the sheepfold, where the sheep come in to their safety in their little house to protect them. Those that try to climb up another way are a thief and a robber, which is, nothing more than you other false teachers are. Because what's it about? Again, the numbers, selling, precept packets. Join our Hebrew University. It's all about making merchandise. It's not actually about feeding the sheep, but feeding your own reputation and your own clout.
Really taking away, the glory from Yahweh Shai, man. These guys want to be Yahweh Shai on earth. When that position is already filled by Yahweh Shai himself.
I wouldn't even want to get on, peg a man like that, but he just keeps coming up. Because if you remember back in his heyday, he said we didn't have to worship Yahweh Shai.
I remember that.
But we can't get to the Father but through Yahweh Shai. Again, they just want to be the ones as you know, Yahushua himself was relating in Matthew 19, I don't think it was 19, it might have been 23, how don't be like the Pharisees and Sadducees who want the chief seats and want to walk into the markets to where they say, Rabbi, Rabbi. You want those illustrious positions. You know, you want the cumin and the mint and the tithes, the physical things to feed your flesh, but you omit the weightier matters of the law.
Verse 2, and it reads, it says, but he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep.
And what does Yahushua say in Revelation 3? When I knock on the door and you open and let me enter in, you know, that goes to show that, you know, you've accepted me. So what? The true men of the Lord are going in through the door. Yahabah Hashem Yahushai. And as it said, those that go in through the door are the shepherds. And what's a shepherd going to do? Guide the flock. When the flock gets out of line, you know, hit them with that spiritual rod to get them back on that straight path. And what? Not allow them to just freely roam and get devoured by these wolves out here.
That's right. Verse 3, it says, to him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out.
Keep going.
And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
And hey, that's going into, you know, the hopeful elect, the hopeful and the, as a brother went into with this lesson, you know, we're the hopeful elect. We're the hopeful elect out here. And what? We hear the voice of our shepherd, Yahabah Hashem Yahushai. And to brothers that are teachers out here, what? Those of the hopeful elect underneath us hear our voices, and what? They follow suit. But to those that don't hear our voice and don't follow after us, what? They follow after the strangers out here, the hirelings. And if you notice, everybody you've been following after, what? Their reputation gets tarnished and they start changing up the doctrine. So that's just making you even more confused than you already are out here.
And you do better just going back to the Christian church. You know, it's actually worse to be an Israelite and not have the full truth, you know. But I keep going. This is verse 6. It reads, this parable spake Yahushua unto them, but they understood not what these things, what things they were which he spake unto them.
Keep going.
Then said Yahushua unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture.
And you know, I quoted it, but I'm gonna just get it in that Revelation 3 where it said, any man that enter in by me, you know, verse 9 again, I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture, find rest. And as it says in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. You know, that's talking about the door of your mind. You hear the words of Yahabah Hashem Yahushai through his true shepherds. And if you're a sincere sheep, what? You're going to follow the voice of the shepherd and go into the door of Yahabah Hashem Yahushai. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. And back in that John, it said, those that come in at the door shall be saved and eat at my pasture. And, you know, the pasture we're ultimately looking to feed in on is what? The kingdom of heaven, where we're going to be at rest. And as it said, those that, you know, follow after me shall, you know, be as I am with my Father, sitting on thrones, being at the right hand of Yahabah Hashem Yahushai, on those thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And it's as simple as that.
I'm at verse 10. The book of St. John, chapter 10, verse 10, and it reads, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly.
And that's exactly what you hirelings are doing. You're coming to steal Israelites' monies,
Yep.
to kill, and we know some of y'all have some bodies out there. So physically killing, but spiritually killing Israelites as well by taking the truth away from them and pretty much just remixing Christianity back, remixing Christianity into the Israelites and just further confuse them out there, what's the next thing it says? And to destroy, which are ultimately leading them to, destruction, which what did it say? It's like, it's a few I'm thinking of. It's like, hey, it would be better, woe to him that, deceived the children or lead them astray. It would have been better for him to put a great millstone around his neck and cast him into the sea. Or, it's the other one I'm thinking about. Pretty much, though I'm paraphrasing this badly. I think it's in Matthew 5 or 6, maybe. Those that have led many astray, shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven.
Let me see if I can find that right.
I'm badly paraphrasing it, but to those of you that are, willfully leading Israelites astray when you know better, you're going to have so much blood on your hands, and you're going to have the lowest of the low reputations in the kingdom of heaven. And, that's why, as it says in Ezekiel 3, hey, we're constantly preaching this word in truth and sincerity to get the blood off of our hands, because by us being, faithful, sheep and shepherds of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, we understand the penalties for willfully, leading the flock astray unto, destruction.
You gonna keep going in that, John?
Con.
I was looking for it,
And if you find it, you.
No, that ain't it.
Con.
This and if I could say real quick, because I wanted to speak on that point. All right, it said the thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and destroy. And ultimately that's why when you read that Romans the 15th chapter, and it tells you to mark those men that cause division, right, and they obscure the doctrine. That's why it's so important to do that, all right, because we're ultimately fulfilling the job of a shepherd. All right, a shepherd must point out the danger that is set before the sheep, man. At least the sheep know not, that there's danger out. But that's all I wanted to say. This verse 11, it says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep.
And that's exactly what's getting ready to happen to,
Yes.
these other false camps out here. When the danger comes, when Esau comes in like a flood, a lot of these leaders are going to leave you high and dry and be as though they were never leaders unto you. I mean, again, with, the ex-leader Sakari, when his reputation came, he just left y'all high and dry.
Yep.
And then Sakari fell apart, and now you've got his wicked fruits, further, leading Israelites astray.
Shit, wickedness multiplied,
Mm-hmm.
like it's saying for the Edomites, man, with Alexander and his generals, man.
Yeah, he multiplied wickedness with his with his downfall.
This verse 13, it says, the hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and cared not for the sheep.
Straight to the point. The hireling fleeth because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. They didn't come in with the right intentions to preach the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai and, lead Israel in the right direction. They just saw this as a come up, as the next big fad to, get a reputation or get some shekels behind. And, anything that's of this world is going to come to naught, which, again, we're seeing right now, and it's only going to continue going forward. And when everything's said and done, you're going to see who the true men of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai were, and where Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai laid his tabernacle at.
What is this? Yeah, and if I could get that word hireling.
And then, you got that Titus?
Yeah.
You probably just close it out on that.
Yeah, this one says a hireling in the online etymology. It says one who works for hire. It says now only disparaging, one who acts only for mercenary motives.
That's I was just, before you read that, I was about to say that pretty much sounds like a mercenary.
Who
whose loyalty lies to the highest bidder. And you know, there are whispers and rumors out here, you know, you different leaders out here who had that that man with the suitcase approach you. And you know, that's when things started changing up a lot. So your loyalties are like a hireling. You're a mercenary. Whoever's paying the most money, you know, that's the message that gets pushed.
Yeah, and that beautifully sums it up, man. Beautifully. And what always happened to the mercenary? They get X'd out because they're just a tool, man. All right, they're neither wanted on either side of the war. Yahweh Shai don't want you, neither the Edom want you, man. When the rubber hits the road, you're gonna be left hanging dry too, man. But this is the book of Titus, chapter 1 and verse 10.
And you can break it down too.
Yep. It says, and I'm gonna say this, the subtitle says the qualifications for ministers, right? And ultimately it gives you the good side, right? The true ministers, the qualifications, but then it gives you examples of what a reprobate or a bad minister is, man, a hireling. Okay, it says verse 10, there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, right? And you know who you are as a people. You know that our people are the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? That dwell here across the whole four corners of the earth, man, dispersed amongst like the nations, all right? But yet you choose to deceive, right? It says whose mouths must be stopped. It doesn't say should or could, but they must be stopped, all right? Your mouths must be stopped, man. It says who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not for filthy lucre's sake. All right, and you break up whole households, man. All right, you plunge them into utter darkness. All right, you're taking the life out of them. People who, you know, could possibly be looking for the truth, you know.
If I could say breaking up whole households over at IUIC, you know, they got a doctrine where it's like, look, you know, if you're in the truth, but your wife isn't in the truth, give her 6 months, and if she doesn't change, you got to cast her aside. You're getting them to commit adultery out here.
It's wicked, man. And you will be judged for that, man. The blood is on your hands. Okay?
And another thing too is like, oh, and we've heard examples before, you know, you take a man's wife and give it to a higher up man thing. Oh, brother, I'm sorry, but we think she would be better off with one of the bishops or the deacons.
That's wicked, man. That's atrocious. Verse 12, it says, one of themselves, even a prophet of their own. Because you're not preaching, all right, the gospel of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. You didn't created your own gospel, all right? You didn't created your own doctrine. So you're a prophet of your own, all right? It said the Cretians are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. This witness is true. Wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. All right, and that's ultimately what you're supposed to do. When you see a man teaching some shit that he's not supposed to, right, going off from the beaten path, you rebuke him sharply, all right, in hopes that he may turn back into the faith, turn back into Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, that's ultimately what we're here for. Okay,
and you know, saying Luke is a heathen, Cornelius is a heathen, or heathens can be saved. That's commandments of men,
right?
And you know, Jewish fables. I won't be surprised if they start saying they're literal fallen angels out here. You know, just this madness that Christianity spews, because that's the direction you're going in.
And it's no telling to what they may be saying behind doors, man. If your mind go as far as saying that, you know, Luke wasn't an Israelite, I don't want to see how far the rabbit hole goes with that, you know. But I'm going to read these last two verses. It says, unto the pure, all things are pure, but unto them that are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure. But even their mind and conscience is defiled. And that's why you come up with these different wayward doctrines, right? These diabolical thoughts, all right? You're like a mad scientist, but with doctrine, okay? You're just cooking up whatever, you know, the demons put in your head. You just cook it up and make it a doctrine, man. No proof, no evidence, no studying, no nothing, you know. But it says to the pure, all things are pure. Hence the sheep that know the Lord's voice, right? They understand what the purity of the scriptures is, and they go into it. They run into it, all right. But Yeah, it says, unto them that are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure. So they can't even see the purity. The wicked can't even see the purity in the scriptures, man. You know, it says, verse 16, they profess that they know Yahweh, but in works they deny him, being abominable and disobedient, and to every good work a reprobate. And that sums up everything that we were saying, man. All right, you profess to be a prophet, all right, a herald, okay, unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, an ambassador, but you don't know the Lord, man. All right, you don't make your bodies a living sacrifice, okay? You don't, do the proper things in which a herald would do. All right, you don't present yourself as a herald. You don't believe you are a herald. You so-called prophesying, but you don't even believe that you're a prophet, man. Okay?
You're a herald of hell.
Khan. But yeah, y'all disobedient and abominable, man. You know. But that's pretty much it.
Khan, hey. So with that, we hope you sincere Akim and few sincere Akwat out there were edified. And before we get out of here, again, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. Shalom.
Shalom.